text me. No.
Oh, that was so good.
That's good.
Is Kenya? Is Kenya here?
Hi, Mrs. Gator. Oops. Pretty good.
Okay.
Everybody ready?
Thank you.
Check it. Call to order the Warrensville Heights City School District Board of Education regular meeting, March 26, 2018. Treasurer Dr. Rock, would you please call the roll?
Mrs. Elba,
Here.
Mrs. Gator,
Here.
Mrs. Moomin, Miss Mitchell,
Here.
Mr. Freeman.
Here, all members are in attendance. If you could stand and face the flag for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated. Next on our board agenda is the approval of the agenda. Board members, you should have in your presence, I believe, last Monday afternoon, the agenda. Is there any questions or any changes or additions to the agenda for the night, March 26, 2018 board? Any changes at all? Superintendent Jolly, is there any changes, additions, or any corrections on this agenda for tonight, March 26, 2018?
No, sir.
Treasurer Dr. Rock, have you reviewed the agenda for tonight?
Yes.
And have you made sure that our district has the proper funds for all the items on the agenda tonight?
Yes.
At this time, I would need a motion for 1.4, approval of the agenda for March 26, 2018, regular board meeting. Can I have a motion?
Mr. Chair, I move that this board approve item 1.4, the agenda for the March 26, 2018 regular board meeting.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Moved by Vice President Mitchell, second by Board Member Gator. Board, any questions or floor is open about the agenda tonight? Hearing none, Dr. Rock, would you please call the roll?
Mrs. Gator,
Yes.
Mrs. Moomin,
Yes.
Mrs. Elba,
Yes.
Miss Mitchell,
Yes.
Mr. Freeman.
Yes, motion carries 5-0. This is a consent agenda. The board had a chance to review this, so we may be moving a little bit quickly. Next on our board agenda is 1.5, approval of minutes. Board, we're looking for the minutes of January 8th, 2018, January 22nd, 2018, February 12th, 2018, and February 26th. Can I have a motion approval of the minutes for the appropriate meetings, January 8th, 2018, organizational meeting, January 22nd, 2018, regular meeting, February 12th, 2018, work session meeting, and February 26th, 2018, regular meeting? Can I have a motion?
Mr. Chair, I move that this board approve the minutes that you've listed, the January 8th, January 22nd, February 12th, and February 26th, all of 2018.
Do I have a second?
I second.
Moved by Vice President Mitchell, second by Board Member Gator. Board, is there any questions on those actual minutes for those dates?
I do. I got some things.
Board Member Elba?
January 8th. First thing is that the Black Caucus and the Regional Executive, I told you guys back then, those are not board committees. They should not be listed, and they're listed under board committees. That needs to be removed. That's number one.
Okay.
Number two, I made a statement on your approval of the attorney that's not listed, that the attorney asked me to vote over the phone, and another board member said that they didn't ask them that. I asked that they go into the minutes. That's not in the minutes. I need that in the minutes. And I'm saying that because we have so many problems with these minutes that they're not done accurately, and we're already in a situation because of minutes. So I need stuff, when I say on the record, I need it to be on the record. So you can't vote on January 8th minutes tonight because they're inaccurate. You have stuff in there that's supposed to be.
Inaccurate for who, Board Member Elba?
Excuse me?
Inaccurate for who? You said they're inaccurate for who?
They're inaccurate because, number one, the Black Caucus is not a board committee. So you have to take that out. That says that I'm over the Black Caucus. I'm not a Black Caucus for the board.
No, but we had you for scholarship, and you said you would give us.
But it's not a board committee.
I understand, but you
Okay.
said you would give us information about the
Right.
board.
I will give you the information, but it's not a board committee.
Okay. Board, the floor is open. Member Elba is disagreement with the January 8th meeting. I believe this is our third time looking at it. Was there any other discrepancies or? Board Member Gator,
I do have a comment.
go right ahead.
So even though it's, as far as the two positions that she referred to for for OSBA, you can still list them as liaisons. They don't necessarily have to be called committees. We can still keep them on the agenda and just rename them. The other thing is just a comment. I just want to say, Member Elba.
I wanted it on the record.
That's fine, Member Elba, but what I'm going to say is this. Give us the opportunity to come to a meeting and have the minutes right. You can still state it on the record if that's what you want, but once again, we're coming to a meeting and the minutes aren't right. And may I please? And all the members have to do is to contact the treasurer and let him know if there is a concern. That's all we're asking you to do. So I'm finished.
Okay.
Thank you,
So
Board
if
Member.
you recall, at the last board meeting, I asked that that be removed when he was doing prior corrections, and it's still not removed. So if I'm asking it at a last meeting and you didn't do it, here's my other opportunity at this meeting to do it. So I need somebody to do their job between the last meeting and this meeting. Thank you.
Well,
That's
I
all I'm
think
gonna
they
say.
do their job, but I'd like to move the actual mic to our treasurer, Mr. Rock. As far as that January 8th meeting, did you have any suggestions about that?
We send out the drafts, and that's your opportunity to tell me any of the edits that you need. And the drafts were sent out multiple times on these minutes.
Thank you again.
Board, we're going to vote on these items. Ms. Elba, we are going to vote on these items, so,
You do it all the time. It's inaccurate, but knock yourself out.
okay. Well, inaccurate to one member doesn't mean it's inaccurate.
Accurate to the whole thing. This is
I
a
got
legal
you.
document.
I got you.
It's a legal document that is inaccurate.
I got you. Any other discussion?
If I may, Mr. Chair.
Vice President Mitchell.
Dr. Rock, since it's been noted, are we able to just make the changes? We vote on the minutes as they stand tonight with the note that those changes will be made.
Yeah, just tell me what the changes are.
She had quotes. Ms. Elba, what was the quotes again? I'm sorry, for the 8th meeting?
Tell me what your statement is, and then we could go back and double-check the words of the statement with the tape.
For the record, the attorney contacted me and asked me to make a vote over the phone, and I refused, end quote.
That's the only quote you want in there?
That's the only one I wanted.
All right, Dr. Rock, can you change that?
So is that what the board wants?
That's what Ms. Elba wants.
That's what she states, she
And
said.
as a board
I mean, you
member, she
have the
has,
tape,
yeah,
so-
she has the right.
You have the tape, so if she said it, I mean, I would listen to it. but-
So you're going to pull the January 8th minutes,
That's the-
and I'll put those edits in, and then you look at them again and vote again?
We'd actually like to vote for the minutes with you making
Right.
those changes.
We have the 4 in
Okay.
front of us. We're going to vote. Ms. Muehlman, did you have any comment?
No, not about minutes.
All right.
At this time, a motion was moved by Vice President Mitchell, a second by Board Member Gator. Dr. Rock, would you please call the roll?
I just want to make sure I have the right statement, the exact words that Mrs. Elba wants.
Ms. Elba, could you give our treasurer the exact words once again? He's trying to make sure they're accurate.
For the record, the attorney contacted me via telephone and asked me to make a vote over phone, of which I did not, end quote.
For the record, the attorney called you
And asked me to vote over the phone,
to vote over the phone. That's it?
Yeah, that's it. And for those people in the audience who are looking at me, it is illegal, a violation for a board member to vote over the phone. It must be done in person, and that's why I'm very adamant about this. Thank you.
And I must say, she was the only one that was asked to vote over the phone.
Hold on one moment. Thank you, Board Member Newman. Vice President Mitchell would like to speak to this
If
subject.
I can
please.
clarify, the call that's being spoken about, not a board member was called to ask for a vote. We were called
Date.
and we were given information. We were not asked to vote because, as Member Elba stated, we are not allowed to render any yea or nay vote over a telephone. So if you want to put that in the record for tonight, I will email that quote to you, please.
So, but you can only speak for you, Ms.
You have to ask for the floor.
That's all right, we're gonna vote on it. Dr. Rock, would you please call the,
That's exactly why.
Dr. Rock, would you please call the roll call?
And just the other one then, just eliminate OSBA Black Scholarship, just take it off the list?
We agreed to it, but you can take it off.
I would say, I personally would like to see it left on as a liaison position, so that way when meetings occur, we've got it on the agenda and people can give reports when they attend these meetings.
Board Member Gator, who's gonna speak to that?
I'm sorry?
Who's gonna speak to the Black Caucus? Ms. Elba says she don't.
No, that's not what I said.
What'd you say?
I said it's not a board committee. I didn't say anything about me not going to the meetings.
So you're gonna speak to the scholarship, that's what I'm asking.
I am the liaison for the committee. It's just not a board committee.
I understand that.
Okay, but that's the question that's on the floor. It's not a board committee.
I got you.
She's saying keep it on there, just make it a liaison and not
That's
a
fine,
board.
that's fine,
committee.
but I could swear the organization meeting, we had scholarship, but maybe not.
As long as it states Black Caucus, because Black
That's fine.
Caucus is going, and I apologize for not asking for the floor. Black Caucus is going through so many changes, we really don't know, so whenever there's a Black Caucus meeting,
Okay.
we know Member Elba will
Just
be the
information.
liaison.
I got you, no problem. Sorry about that, public. Dr. Rock, would you please call the roll?
Okay, Mrs. Moomin,
Yes.
Mrs. Elba,
No.
Mrs. Gator,
Yes.
Ms. Mitchell,
Yes.
Mr. Freeman.
Yes, motion carries 4-1. Next on our board agenda, 1.6, is our public participation. Outside on the table with some cards. If anybody would like to speak, you can fill it out with your name, address. You can come up to the podium when called by the treasurer and give your comment, concern. Did everybody? Okay. Dr. Rock, you have one right there.
Mrs. Underwood?
Hi, Ms. Underwood, if you could give your name and your address.
Okay, hello, my name is Crystal Underwood, and I live at 24409 Emory Road. And for the record, I would like to put on that work sessions that you guys do is a good place to see who we put into office. So the last two sessions, Ms. Mitchell, she had one about accountability, where everybody was supposed to say what you're personally accountable for, how you could individually bring it to the table to work as a team. So we had a member that she didn't know what she was accountable for. It was about he, she, we, whatever. When you start with personal accountability, it does not start with we. It starts with I. So then on the next meeting, Ms. Mitchell did one on goal setting, and it was a good question. She was like, well, where's your head at before you get to the meeting? You know, what are you thinking about? So we had a board member to say that my head is, I don't care. I just want to get it over with, and
Yeah.
I don't care.
The other audience wasn't at that meeting, so.
Okay, well, that's a good place. It's open to the
I
public.
understand.
Anybody could come
Right.
and they can see who you put in office because they're interacting with each other. So we get a chance to see what it's all about. So I just wanted to let you guys know that we do have a member that says before every meeting that she comes, she says, I don't care, and she wants to get it over with. So just take note. You might want to attend some of these public meetings.
Thank you, Ms. Underwood. Do we have any other public participation? Anybody want to come down? All right, next on our board agenda is 1.7. Superintendent Jolly has an update. Mr. Jolly?
Yes, greetings. Jonathan, you put up. I have a quick report today. Just want to go over where we are with our facilities. Jonathan can get us there real quick. So far what we've accomplished is that GPD has met with all stakeholders to gather information to begin the design of the pre-K facility. So they've met with all the teachers of Eastwood, Westwood, and John Dewey. They met with the custodians, they met with the bus drivers, they met with technology, and now they're in the final phases of trying to get an idea of what everyone wants. The next item is that the OFCC has met with the district leadership to finalize options for the new 6 to 12 building. So we recently met with the OFCC on a weekly basis so that we can bring to the board the week of April 9th to 13th the preliminary plans for the board to review. So the week of April 9th to 13th, they are working on the final plans, preliminary plans to bring to the board with options to proceed forward. The next community meeting with the pre-K to 5 facility will be held on Thursday, April 12, 2018 here in 154. And I'd like to announce also the Randallville auction was completed last week. The preliminary estimate of what the district will receive is about 10,000, a little bit over 10,000. So it was about 20,000 in sales. We received half of the money. Upcoming on timeline, so we're finishing up with GDP by May 21st. The design should be completed by December 31st. They'll start construction in April of 2019, and the building will be complete in July 2020. Also with that, Randallwood is estimated to be demolished starting on June 18th. June 18th is the estimated date. And here's a couple pictures from the auction. A lot of things left Randallwood, a lot of things are gone. Mr. Boyer is coordinating a plan for the removal of the rest of the things. From my understanding, it's a lot of garbage in there, a lot of things that no one can use. So it'd probably be part of the demolition. The more things in there that they can scrap in the demolition, the less cost it is for us. Is that correct, Mr. Boyer? So this is testing time, important testing time for the district. We start testing April 19th. The ELA testing starts as soon as April 9th, I'm sorry. Then we go into end of course exams, grades for English 1 and 2. So the whole month of April, as you can see, is testing. And this is the testing schedule all the way to the summer. You see we have exclusive tests all the way till the summertime. So after we finish the end of the course exams, we got NWEA exams, then we go into AP exams, then we have semester exams for high school students, and then we have the end of the school year, and then we have summer testing. Scholars in action, I just wanted to share with the community and board. The first one to the left, or to my left, is the Fire Academy. They had the opportunity to walk through the new Amazon site, so those are some pictures from that. And then to the right is our students participating in the protests against gun violence. So those are our students who participate in the 17 minutes as part of that process. That concludes my report. I would like to just also share that it is so important as the leaders of this district, everyone is watching us and paying attention to us. We are in a major battle right now with House Bill 70, and everyone's watching us, and they're watching how we act, how we interact with each other. So it's so important that us as a team of 7, a team with the community, that we are one, and that we appear to be one and work together. It's so important because a divided team is one that can be beat, and one that's united can win. And I just ask that the board, we continue to work with each other and do what's best for our students and community. As the superintendent, I'm connected with a lot of people in the community and hear a lot of things, and I hear a lot of negative things that sometimes our team say about me. That's what happens when you sit in my seat. So I just appeal tonight that we continue to work together. We are, Ms. Gator will probably talk a little later about some legislative things that we're doing to try to save our community and save our district. I always say this is bigger than people. This is about the future of this community. And individuals, there'll be new individuals in these seats in 10 years or 5 years or 6 months. It could be new individuals, but the community is going to be the same. And what we do will affect the future, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years down the line. I think as public officials, we all should all keep that in mind as we work, that we are servants of the people and that our decisions affect not just now, but it affects the future. So I just wanted to say, it's an honor and a privilege to serve this community. And I take this position real serious. And people watch us. They watch us. And they watch what we do in the street, and they watch what we do in our meetings. And it's just so important that we reflect the good, the positivity and uplift that we represent. That concludes my report. I'm open to any questions.
Board, is there any questions for our Superintendent Jolly on any of the items he covered or any items you wanted to ask the superintendent? I just want to say, Superintendent Jolly, I know you're working hard. I appreciate what you do, and the whole board does. Keep doing what you're doing. You're a Tiger. You're a 91 graduate. So it's very hard in a school district to have a person that went through your educational system and lead your district. And we're at a very, very crucial time, like the superintendent said, with House Bill 70, and I'm sure Ms. Gator will touch on that in our legislative updates, but we try to stick together as a board. I mean, will we always agree? No, we won't. But at the end of the day, it's about these children. So I want to thank you, Superintendent Jolly, for what you do, and you too, Dr. Rock. I want to thank both of you, gentlemen. All right, next on our board agenda is the consent treasurer's report and
Tiger Way.
Oh, I'm sorry. I always forget that. 1.8 is our Tiger Way Award. The district last year made an effort to actually recognize some of our great employees that we have. So I'm going to have Kenya Hunt and Tasha Pettigrew come down and just give a little bit of insight on those people that will receive the Tiger Way Award tonight. Ms. Hunt, Ms. Pettigrew.
Yes. Good evening,
Good
Tiger
evening.
family. Good evening. Today, I have the honor and pleasure of giving you the names of our nominations for classified and certificated Tiger Way Award recipients. And so the first candidate I'm going to read the first candidate, I'm going to read exactly what a fellow educator wrote about this person and why she received this recommendation.
Okay.
I've had the opportunity to see Miss Angela Jelenic in action teaching Algebra 1, and she does a very good job by creating an engaging learning environment for her scholars. Angela demonstrates the Tiger Way through the power of team by supporting her coworkers without question. She also extends her time to the students beyond the school day. For the past few years, Ms. Jelenic has encouraged scholars to participate in extracurricular math-related activities. Please join me as I have Ms. Angela Jelenic come down to receive her Tiger Way Award.
Give her a hand. If you could say something, Ms. Jelenic, just say, about the district, how long you've been with us, and what do you like about Warrensville Heights?
So this is my 5th year with Warrensville Heights. I teach math in the high school, and I like the challenges that it brings. So I've taught something different every year, and this is my first year teaching Algebra 1, and I didn't think I'd like it, and I actually love it. So I love getting those challenges from this district.
Thank you so
The
much.
board appreciates you.
All of this school year's recipients will receive a dinner at the Board of Education. We will schedule that date, and it will be forthcoming with a caterer, and we will celebrate all of our Tiger Way recipients for the entire school year. Then we had 2 last year that didn't receive anything, so they will be joining us. The next recipient, I do not see in the audience. He said he was going to be here, but I do not see him. But if I say his name, I'm sure everyone will know who he is. The next recipient is Mr. Robert Hales, also known as Rob. Mr. Hales is always prompt in responding to service requests. He often demonstrates the Tiger Way principle power of team by always lending a helping hand, never complains when given a task, big or small, and makes himself available when needed. Mr. Hales is a valuable team player to the Warrensville Heights City School District. And I must say, since I began here in the district, any problem that I have come across, anything that has to do with facilities, I have his number on speed dial because he will never let us down. If it's too hot, if it's too cold in my office, I can always get Rob and he has a prompt response. So round of applause for Mr. Robert Hales. He's not here with us, but we will definitely pass this along to him next week, okay? All right, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hunt. Thank you, Ms. Pettigrew. Next up, I want to have our chief, our head security, come down, Chief Heedy. Chief Heedy has a presentation. Once he gives the name of the person, and he can share with you how crucial our security is in this day and age with all this shooting, our security. Chief Heedy.
Thank you for allowing me to recognize one of our officers for a job well done. As most of you are aware, one of our scholars attempted to bring a loaded handgun into our high school. Fortunately for all of us, Officer Delmar Calhoun performed his duties, recognized the threat, and immediately took control of the situation without harm to anyone and without causing panic or concern by those around him. Officer Calhoun, would you like to come down here, please? I'm incredibly proud and honestly relieved that Officer Calhoun was there for us that morning. I've been in law enforcement for over 30 years, and I can tell you he handled the situation like a seasoned veteran. I'm incredibly grateful for all of our officers who perform their duties each and every day. As a result, I would like to read this commendation and present Officer Calhoun with his framed copy to display proudly in his home. And the commendation reads, on Wednesday, March 7, 2018 at 8:15 a.m., you were working the front entrance to the high school, screening students who were entering the building. A male student approached the metal detector and you immediately asked for and was handed his book bag. You thoroughly inspected the bag and found a loaded .45 caliber handgun hidden at the bottom. When the student recognized you found the weapon, he leaned over to retrieve his bag. You kept your composure and directed the student to the security office without alerting the others who were within your immediate vicinity. The student was subsequently turned over to the Warrensville Heights Police, who charged him accordingly. This was excellent work and potentially saved lives of students and staff. Video clearly shows your thoroughness and, just as important, your composure when you recognize a potential threat to your building. You are hereby commended for your excellent work. You have demonstrated the knowledge and responsibility of your position as a security officer for the Warrensville Heights School District. Congratulations on the job well done. Now you have to say something.
Mr. Calhoun, can you say a couple words and how long you've been with the district?
Good evening.
Good evening.
I was a sub last year. It's my first year full-time. I'm not new to the district. I coached youth football in the district for 10 years. So the kids know me, most people around here do. Thank you to the board for the recognition, everybody. Thank you for Chief for being a real supporter with our training and just making sure that we communicate, debrief well, and go through these different scenarios. But security is necessary. This day and age, it's not to be poo-pooed or taken for granted. It's real. Our job as our unit, which we stress to each other constantly, is just make sure we go home at night together. We gather together. Let's go home together. So just that day, God chose me. I was in the right place, the right situation, and I don't take that for granted because Chuck got to go home at night, Connor, Shep, we all make sure that happens. So it kind of threw me for a loop that my man would try to come in with a loaded 45, and then when we learned all the other stuff afterwards, our job, 60% of our job is relationships. And when our guy came in, when he went in the office, I told him, I said, man, I didn't even know you could talk. You walk past the post every time you wave, like you'd have never thought, but that's just, you never know. So, we're going to continue to work hard. We're going to continue to keep being trained up. We're going to continue to develop and move forward these relationships we have with the kids. That's all it takes. Once we got him in there and Chuck started talking to him, my man opened up like a book, told him everything, what was going on. That's still not a reason to bring a gun to school, but we kind of got a little more insight on what the deal was. So, we're going to keep on building these relationships, keep on trying to, make the district better, and we'll get there. But again, thank everybody tonight, and appreciate it.
Give him a hand. Get on my hand. Oh, okay. Thank you for both of those Tiger Way recipients. And next on our board agenda is 2.0, Consent Treasurer's Report and Financial Recommendations. Dr. Rock?
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Rock.
Okay. So I wanted to show the board, one of the items on the agenda tonight is the school district's tax rate resolution for tax year 2018. This is a resolution that's done once a year. It's actually step 2 in the budget process. Step 1 is back in the organizational meeting, we did the tax budget.
Right.
So then they take our numbers on the tax budget and they look at our millage rates and our tax rates, and then that establishes this. The board approves this by the end of March, and then we do temporary appropriations in the summer, and we do permanent appropriations in September. So that's the budget process. So this is like step number 2. So on the resolution, we have the bond retirement fund at 7.8. Inside millage is still 5.1. The general fund outside mills are 77.9, and a permanent improvement fund is 1.9. The difference of inside and outside millage is when governments were set up, you get set up with inside millage. Every government has 10 mills to place out. So Warrensville Heights had 10 mills, and they decided to give us, the district, 5.1. And they may put, a couple mills to the police department or fire department or recreational. It all depends on the governments. So that's how you end up with your inside millage. Inside millage never changes, so that always charges at the full rate. So that's why I'm showing that there. Now, this is the levy detail millage rates, and this is where you'll get to see that there's 2 changes from compared to last year. And the 2 changes are in the emergency levy, and that one is the one that's a 5-year levy. It renews every 5 years. It's due to renew in 2020. That millage on that one is going to go from 7.8 to 7.5. That's a good move. That means that, what that means is that tax valuation went up, and they don't have to charge as much tax on that valuation. Again, emergency levies and the bond levies collect at 100%. So that's why they move along with the rates. The other change will be the bond retirement fund, and that one's going from 8 mills to 7.8. So when you look at the total, they were going from 93.2 to 92.7. And again, those 2 moves are because the valuation of the district is inching its way up. We're getting out of the recession, so that's good news for us. And that means that the 2 levies that collect on full collection are being adjusted down, because the levies can only collect on an emergency levy and a bond levy. It's a fixed dollar amount that it has to collect. So then, The emergency levies and bond levies are exempt from House Bill 920. Well, let me show you what House Bill 920 looks like. So if you look at 1976, the first levy there, that's when House Bill 920 came out. And that's probably a result of multiple levies at 29 mills voted in. But if you look over to the right, residential, we're only charging 11.37 mills on those levies. And in businesses, we're charging 16.9. So what House Bill 920 does is it restricts the levy to only collect its original voted millage or the original dollar amount. As your values grow, you charge less to bring in those same dollar amounts. So that's where you can see the effective rates, and that's what we call the effective rate. So in our general fund, on our regular levies, 77.8 mills, we're actually charging the residents 53.43. Now, on the inside millage, that always stays the same. So you can see that's 5.1. It's always been 5.1. Permanent improvement levy, you can see the residential, we're charging 1.9, and the business is 1.81. And then you can see the bond retirement. So this gets you a feel for, you know, how the effective rates are versus the gross voted millage. But what our resolution is that we're doing tonight is the gross voted millage. You could also see that the levies are continuing levies. And then there's the emergency levy is the only one that comes up for renewal every 5 years. Then we had some questions on Title I and Title IIA, so I figured I'd bring a summary. In 2017, you could see Title I was about $1.182 million, and it dropped by $90,000. We knew about that from the federal government adjustments. The next one is Title I Supplemental A. That was pretty much a one-time program, so that one's teetering out. And then Title IIA went from 88,000 to 111,000. So those are our comparisons by allocation that we're getting from the state of Ohio. Title IIA is for supporting effective instruction. It's pretty much for professional development for teachers. And that fund also covers not only when the teacher goes on professional development, then if we have to hire a sub, we still were able to allocate that to that fund. And then Title I is for targeted assistance, and for us, it's to maximize achievement in reading and math. The Title I budget for this year, you can see how it's divvied up here amongst the different line items. Salaries is $673,000. Retirement and benefits, purchase services or services that we would pay for that aren't our employees, and then supplies and capital outlay. The budget for Title I Supplemental A is $16,000 in salaries, retirement and benefits, and then purchase services. And again, that one's ramping its way out. And then Title IIA is salaries at $54,000, benefits at 23, purchase services at 32, and there's the 111. So just to give you a feel for those, because there were some questions on that.
I got a couple questions, Dr. Rapp.
Let me finish the presentation
Oh,
first, if
I
that's
thought you
okay.
said, do you have any questions?
I didn't say.
No, he.
Oh, I'm sorry.
We could go back to anything.
That's fine.
Usually you let me finish the presentation,
fine.
and then you say, are there any
No
questions?
problem. Go right ahead, Dr. Rock. Sorry.
The investments in the general fund, I wanted to present a summary to the board. Historically, you could see that our interest revenue is growing substantially, and I thank the board for giving me confidence to go and get that invested for us. In 2013, we were at $32,000 of interest revenue. 2014, almost $19,000. 2015, $8,500. 2016, $8,000. Last year, we ended almost at $158,000. This year to date as of the most recent month closed, we're at $244,000. We're projected to hit $349 this year, which is even higher than what our five-year forecast projection was at $283, and that will be adjusted in the new five-year forecast. And then also for next year, I'm projecting $534,000. So this is becoming a major line item for us on a revenue perspective. And then in the financial horizon, Just like Mr. Jolly said, we're looking at Phase 2. We're looking into how that will be financed and making a pathway for the district. And then also departmental budgets will be coming up, and then the May 5-year forecast. And then that completes my presentation.
Thank you, Treasurer Dr. Rock. At this time, Board, I would need a motion for the consent treasurer's report and financial recommendations 2.1, 2.2, 2.3, and 2.4. Can I have a motion?
Mr. Chair, I move that this board approve item number 2, consent treasurer's report and financial recommendations, items 2.1, 2.2, 2.3, and 2.4.
Do I have a second?
I second.
Board, the floor is open for discussion on any of those items with Treasurer Dr. Rock.
I got a few questions.
Go right ahead.
Dr.
Board member.
Rock, so the parent liaisons is coming out of Title I, correct?
Yes.
So have we maxed out all the money out of Title I based on this, or do we still have money left?
The budget's allocated for the whole year, yes.
So. for this
I think that would be a question we probably have to talk to our niece if
Dr.
there's any
Cameron and our niece, but
intentions.
this year the budget is allocated, so that's why we haven't made any adjustments to it. We're paying teachers out of it. All our title teachers are being paid out of it. So as we get our money this year, then we will revisit the plan and see where we allocate the funds.
So there is no plan to lay off any of the special ed teachers, correct?
No plan to lay off. We can't lay off any special ed teachers. We can't lay off. We have too many students. We don't have the recourse to lay off anybody. There's no plan to lay off anybody. But the question comes where they get paid from, where the teachers get paid from. So we're able to move some teachers to Title I because if they're providing math or reading intervention, we can move their salaries out of the general fund to the Title I fund. So it's basically how people are going to be paid, out of Title I or out of the general fund.
Board, is there any?
We usually,
Oh,
I'm sorry, Mr. Freeman.
Go ahead.
And then just to complete the process, we usually get the allocation and plan for the next year based on that allocation.
So those plans are in the works now. So that's what we're waiting on the Title I money to see how much is in Title I. But we have to maintain our roster of teachers because of our student population and the needs of our students too.
So,
Board Member Elba?
I get the need for that, but I'm also looking at deficiency that we have right now as far as our parent engagement and our parent liaison. And because there is a school opened, that makes us a liaison short, which makes us another deficit. And that's why I asked regarding this Title I money, if this is all that if there is, and that there is no other money to pay an additional liaison, or can it come out of the general fund, or does it strictly have to come out of the Title I?
Well, it could come out of the general fund. I think that's something that as we plan for next year, that is something we have to look at. So what our plan was is to see exactly what our Title I budget is. Our essentials is making sure we're providing reading and math intervention to all our students who need it. And then from there, we'll peel off the parent engagement and where that's going. So we've had some preliminary discussions on how that's going to look, but I think over the next 2 months, it'll be finalized and then presented to the board.
Any other questions for the Treasurer Board?
I have a question. Actually, it's dealing with the parent liaisons, but I'd like to direct it to Mr. Jolly.
Okay.
Can you just maybe share with the community what parent engagement looks like at Westwood right now? Because I know that's the school that we're.
Right, so Mr. Vaughn does a great job with parent engagement. I would say that at all his events, he probably has the most parents coming, and that's based upon his outreach and what he does. So at this point, the principal is at Westwood. Mr. Vaughn is doing the parent outreach at his school. Ms. Smiley does help him somewhat. She is the district parent liaison, so she does provide assistance. But a lot of times it's Mr. Vaughn and his team who do the parent outreach. His teachers have great relationships with the parents, and they call them and they come. I think we need to really look at how parent liaisons are used. We need to look at the accountability of our parent liaisons to ensure that they have some measurables that they have to achieve to bring people out to certain events. And just looking at East Cleveland, going to their events that I've attended to, they have a lot of people come to their events, a lot more than we do. So that is something we have to look at and really hone in and look at what we pay. I guess you do get what you pay for if you don't pay people a significant amount of money, or pay them certain amounts. So because they part-time, they make $750 a quarter. So that's their time is not. They don't have a lot of time at the building. So we need to look at that and see how we can get more parent engagement and just look at the whole plan. So that's something we're definitely looking at, because we do need more parent involvement at every school. And the older the kids get, the less involvement occurs.
All right, thank you for clarifying.
Any other questions?
One more question.
Go ahead.
Ms. Gator, you're not going to the records training? Because I know this
I'm
was
not going
to this
when
one.
he's going.
Oh, okay.
I did that for the board to make sure that we're covered, because the auditor, the state auditor will come in and check us. So by me going as a delegate, and then you could go individually, we're covered from both angles.
Dr. Rock, would you please call the roll?
Mrs. Elba,
Yes.
Mrs. Gator,
Yes.
Mrs. Moomin,
Yes.
Ms. Mitchell,
Yes.
Mr. Freeman.
Yes, motion carries 5-0. Next on our board agenda is the consent superintendent recommendation and presentation for board action certified staff. We have one item. Would you like to talk to it, or?
It's just girls track. This is our coach for girls track this year.
Okay. Board, I will need a motion for 3 consent superintendent recommendations and presentation for board action certified staff 3.1. Can I have a motion?
Mr. Chair, I move that this board approve item number 3, superintendent's recommendations and presentation for board action certified staff, item 3.1, supplemental coaching.
Do I have a second?
I second.
Moved by Vice President Mitchell, second by Board Member Mumin. Dr. Rock, would you please call the roll?
Any
Mrs.
questions?
Gator?
No?
Oh, do we have any question about that position 3.1? I'm sorry.
No.
Any questions about the girls track coach? We didn't have one, it was a void, and I'm glad you guys found one, because our girls did very well last year, and it's good that we had somebody to be a track coach. Dr. Rock, would you please call the roll?
Mrs. Gator,
Yes.
Mrs. Moomin,
Yes.
Mrs. Elba,
Yes.
Ms. Mitchell,
Yes.
Mr. Freeman.
Yes, motion carries 5-0. Next on our board agenda is number 4, consent superintendent's recommendation and presentation for board action classified staff. I'm looking for a motion for number 4, consent superintendent's recommendation and presentation for board action classified staff 4.1, 4.2, 4.3, 4.4. Do I have a motion?
Mr. Chair, I move that this board approve by consent agenda superintendent's recommendation and presentation for board action classified staff 4.1 through 4.4.
Do I have a second?
I second.
Moved by Vice President Mitchell, second by Board Member Gator. Board, the floor is open for any of those items in Section 4, 4.1 through 4.4. Any questions at all on those items?
I have a question.
Go right ahead.
Do you know how many we have currently in these pools each?
Ms. Hunt, can you share? How many we have substitute bus drivers and substitute secretaries?
In the pool, how
In the
many do you
pool.
have?
The bus driver is a replacement. I'm not sure how many secretaries. So
Okay, just wondering.
Any other questions?
We do. Ms. Callahan is 1, and that's this one, Ms. Callahan?
So you only have one substitute bus driver? Yeah, we've let some bus drivers have left.
3 of them.
So we have one substitute bus driver, and then secretary, how many? It can be more than 2 or 3. Okay. One of the things with substitutes, everyone is not available. So when you call, some people have other jobs and they're not available, so you need to have a pool so that when people are not available, you can have someone. One of the worst things, and we've had that at Eastwood a few days when Ms. Harris is out, and all the other secretaries or took other jobs or somewhere else, we have to cover. So the more people in the pool, the better we have to cover the position.
Thank you, Superintendent. Dr. Rock, would you please call the roll? I'm sorry.
Oh,
I didn't hear nobody speak up. I'm sorry.
So I was just gonna ask Mr. Jolly, any consideration at all? I know that when we started with the company that does substitutes for us, there was some discussion about them expanding. Are we anywhere closer to utilizing them for other positions?
I don't think they're there yet. Yeah.
They offer substitute paraprofessionals and substitute cleaners and stuff.
So the company hasn't gotten into secretaries yet. The company that we partner with, so they're into substitute custodians and substitute paraprofessionals. They haven't expanded to substitute secretaries at this point.
So I'm just wondering, would it be worthwhile for the district to maybe look at other options? I know that we're using the one company, but if they're not ready, and we did this, over a year ago, maybe 2 years now, when you first came on board. So it's just a suggestion, if we're having such a struggle getting substitutes, that maybe we start doing some research on other options.
Yes, ma'am, we will. I think one of the issues is our pay. We pay $10 an hour, so people can go other places and make more money. So that is it is one of the hindrances, is the pay. People easily can make more than 10 an hour.
Got 12 hours. It's 10.
Are there any more questions at all? Treasurer Dr. Rock, would you please call the roll?
Mrs. Moomin,
Yes.
Mrs. Elba,
Yes.
Mrs. Gator,
Yes.
Ms. Mitchell,
Yes.
Mr. Freeman.
Yes, motion carries 5-0. Next on our board agenda is number 5, consent superintendent recommendation and presentation for personnel and programs. I'm looking for a motion.
Before you do a motion, can we remove 5-4 and 5-5?
Amendment, closing achievement gap, CTAG, and resolution, student suspension appeal.
Yep.
Board, Ms. Gator wants us to remove those two items.
Elba.
No.
I mean Elba. I'm sorry, I'm looking at you. I'm sorry, Ms. Gator. Ms. Elba wants us to remove 5.4 and 5.5 on this first motion. So I'm looking for motion for the consent superintendent recommendation and presentation for personnel and programs, 5.1, 5.2, and 5.3. Do I have a motion?
Mr. Chair, I move that this board approve with item number 5, consent agenda, superintendent's recommendations and presentation for personal and programs, items 5.1 through 5.3.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Moved by Vice President Mitchell, second by Board Member Mumin. Is there a discussion on any of those items, 5.1, 5.2, or 5.3 in this first motion?
I have a question.
Go right ahead, Board Member Elba.
When is the plan for the cameras to be installed?
I'm gonna defer to Mr. Boyer.
Can you come on down, Mr. Boyer?
I'm sorry, what was her question?
The
When will the cameras be installed?
Oh.
Can you repeat the question, please?
When will the cameras be
When
installed?
will they be installed? We'll generate a purchase order tomorrow, and they'll begin installing them within about 6 weeks. So they'll be ready to go for the next school year.
Thank you, Mr. Boyer.
Thank you, Mr. Boyer. Is there any other questions in those section 5.1, 5.2, or 5.3, Board? Hearing none, Dr. Rock, would you please call the roll?
Mrs. Elba,
Yes.
Mrs. Gator,
Yes.
Mrs. Moomin,
Yes.
Ms. Mitchell,
Yes.
Mr. Freeman.
Yes, motion carries 5.0. Next, I would like to call a motion for number 5, consent superintendent recommendation and presentation for personnel and programs. I'm looking for a motion for 5.4, amendment closing the achievement gap, CTAG, and 5.5, resolution student suspension appeal. Do I have a motion?
Separate.
Oh, you want to do, oh, I'm sorry. So you want to do 3 motions?
No, it's only 2, 5, 4, 5, 5.
Yeah, that's what I said, 5.4 and 5.4. I just read them.
Separate.
You said 3 and then separate. So we're gonna do 5, 4 first, then we do 5.
Mr. Chair,
That's what I-
move
yeah,
that
okay.
this board approve by consent agenda superintendent's recommendations and presentation for personal and programs, item 5.4, amendment for closing the achievement gap.
Do I have a second?
I second.
Moved by Vice President Mitchell, second by Board Member Gator. The floor is open for discussion on 5.4.
I just have a
Go ahead, Board Member Elba.
So, here's my concern with this. Not so much concern of what the program does, but the program regarding using students that are considered at risk. That's what the program is for. And I say that because I just happened to be at the county on Monday for a meeting, and I ran into someone who was familiar with the program, and they had a concern to me that we were not using at-risk kids. Now, I know I asked this question the last time this came up, but my concern once again is that only the good ones are utilizing it and not the at-risk students where they're supposed to be. So that's my statement, so.
Do you want to address that, Mr. Elba?
I have the director of closing the achievement gap here. Go ahead.
May I follow up with a question, sir?
Mhm.
So my question is, can we define at risk? Because there's different reasons why students might be considered at risk. They might be a good student, but there might be some things going on at home that make them at risk. So it really is kind of hard, Member Elba, to say what constitutes someone being at risk unless you know the children and know the background behind them.
I believe Miss Nettis serves over 60, 70 kids in this school on a daily basis. They come to her classroom, she checks their grades, she follows, goes to their teachers, work with their teachers. I'm not exactly sure. Hold on a second. Well, we gotta give you the floor.
I would like Bob Ivory to come down from CTAG. He was with Coward County, and maybe he can address it for the board member.
Sure. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I hear a couple of items, but I'll start with the number you just mentioned, which is actually a credit to the program here. You actually have the highest number of participation of all 4 school districts. Ms. Nettis has 94.
Wow.
94 targeted students on her roll. And that does not include the students that are considered non-targeted. So she actually has a very large caseload of students. To the question of at-risk, which that term is used very loosely, lightly, sometimes paintbrush, sometimes generically, but as I wrote the criteria, I can tell you exactly what the students that participate in this program meet one of 7 criteria. And if they meet one of these criteria, they are considered to be at risk of not graduating on time with their class. That's the definition. And those criteria are if they're over the age of the grade they should be in. Like we've had 18-year-old 9th graders. So that student, by definition, based on the data that goes back to 2001, would be considered to be at risk of not graduating on time if they're 17 or 18 in 9th grade. If they fail 2 or more core subjects in the previous school year, they would be considered to be at risk. If they were absent 25 days of school, we can consider them at risk of not graduating on time with their class. If they, I'm in a test here. If they are court involved or have been adjudicated, which is a very broad category of students, intentionally. If you have under court supervision, you would be considered to be at risk. If you perform below basic on any standardized test, perform below basic, you would be considered to be at risk. And if you were referred by your own administration or by the principals, if that principal referred you to this program, looking at our best practice, that principal, that administrator, that school district will consider you to be at risk of not graduating on time. So as you can see, it's a huge category that we cover intentionally. It was only 4 when it was a state initiative, and I added because I felt like we need to serve even more students, which obviously here you serve more students. To be the smallest district of Maple, Garfield, Cleveland Heights, Ms. Nettis has the largest caseload, and when the case evaluation reaches your desk in a couple of weeks, you'll see the data that supports, even with that large caseload in a small district, how much your students have achieved in just 3 years. So I hope that answers the question of the term at risk as it relates to this program, and then also who participates here at Warrensville High School.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ivory. Right, any other questions? Dr. Rock, would you call the roll for 5.4?
Mrs. Gator,
Yes.
Mrs. Moomin,
Yes.
Mrs. Elba,
Yes.
Ms. Mitchell,
Yes.
Mr. Freeman.
Yes, motion carries 5-0. Next on our board agenda, I do need a actual motion for consent superintendent's recommendation and presentation for personnel and programs, 5.5, resolution student suspension appeal. Do I have a motion?
Mr. Chair, I move that this board approve by consent agenda superintendent's recommendations and presentations for personal and programs, item 5.5.
Do I have a second?
A second.
Moved by Vice President Mitchell, second by Board Member Gator. Board, the floor is open about that item, but I caution you not to mention anything about the student or the scholar. Is there any questions about the 5.5 resolution?
What?
Is there any discussion? She wanted to vote on this separately.
Oh, yeah, I wanted to vote on it separately, didn't mean I had a comment.
Okay, I'll just check in with you. Dr. Rock, if you can, please call the roll.
Mrs. Moomin,
Yes.
Mrs. Elba,
No.
Mrs. Gator,
Yes.
Ms. Mitchell,
Yes.
Mr. Freeman.
Yes, motion carries 4-1. Next on our board agenda is district policies. I'm going to open it up to our legislative liaison, Board Member Gator. She wanted to go over a couple items, some we may have already carried. Board Member Gator, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So there's just a couple of things that I'd like to share in terms of activity that's been going on in the world of legislation within Ohio. So as far as the House is concerned, the House passed House Bill 343. House Bill 343 requires school boards and other specified entities to pass a resolution approving the complaint or counter-complaint at a public meeting before filing a property tax complaint or counter-complaint. So this is something that we don't want to happen because ultimately it ties our hands. I can actually let Dr. Rock speak to that just briefly, but I think we all agree that passing this would be more of a strain for the district.
Yes, there's already a process that's already established that they go through at the Board of Revisions in the Ohio Department of Taxation. There's already a process established, and this would slow it down even further.
Right. So it's been passed in the House. Now it has to go to the committee and to the Senate. And then there's going to be 3 hearings, and then it goes to the governor. So when I spoke with the OSBA today, they said that we still have some time as a board to, I guess, petition our local legislators and ask them to oppose it. So I would like to ask the board if you guys would be open to me working with OSBA to draft some kind of language so that we could start sending out some emails or some type of a resolution to, officially oppose it. What was your question?
Don't you already do that anyway, being on the legislative committee?
They didn't do one for this particular one. But yes, normally that is something that they do. So they've got talking points that we could use to draft up some type of resolution. What we need to do is we need to get in the legislators' ears. Because legislation is driven so strongly by, I'll put it out there, by the Republican Party, they dominate everything. And quite honestly, the Republican Party, in my opinion, is assaulting public education. They're making it difficult for us to do anything. They want to tie our hands every step of the way. So I will get that drafted and make sure that it's communicated to the board so that individually we can reach out to legislators opposing that particular piece of legislation. Another big one that's coming from the House is House Bill 512. House Bill 512 is a big one. It's going to consolidate the state education agencies and the Governor's Office of Workforce Transformation into a new agency that's called the Department of Learning and Achievement. Basically, what it's going to do is it's going to transfer all of the duties of the State Board of Education to this new agency. So, and as you know, the State Board of Education has elected officials. All of that goes away. So we no longer have a connection to the State Board of Education. So again, this is another piece of legislation that OSBA and a lot of school boards around the state are talking about, and we want to keep our eye on it and make sure that at the appropriate time, when we have legislators in our, we're in legislators' ears, we're telling them that we oppose it. So I would like to just kind of recommend that everybody do a little research on it. If there's information that you'd like for me to send to you from OSBA, I can, but I think most of you get the emails from OSBA, so.
I have a question.
Sure.
Did you send the resolution to them?
To
I know-
who?
For 512.
Because I know after we voted, you were gonna send it.
He sent, yes,
He sent it,
Dr.
okay.
Rock sent it.
Send it to OSBA, BASA, OASBO, the representatives for OASBO, and representatives for OSBA.
Send it to Marcia Fudge also.
But it's
You're right.
ongoing. We constantly, anytime we've got, state representatives, senators, anytime we have their ear, we want to let them know what our concerns are. So those are the two big ones right now. I also want to talk about House Bill 70. As you guys know, as I mentioned, there is an attack on public education. It's real, it's going on now. You see Youngstown, you see Lorraine, and they have been taken over by the state, by the Academic Distress Commission. So myself, Chairman Freeman, Mr. Jolly, Dr. Rock, and Member Elba attended a meeting on March 20th at OSBA with local school districts that are also facing takeover by the Academic Distress Commission. We met and had some interesting conversation about what's going on with this bill. At the end of the day, I really feel as though they tried to make us feel like there's nothing that we can do, and I disagree with that. I feel as though we have to do something, even if the fact that the Republicans have everything locked up, we still have to at least try to avoid being taken over. So at the end of the meeting, it was decided that myself and a member from Maple Heights as well as East Cleveland would start engaging in some discussion about what we can do locally. And what I'm envisioning is some joint meetings between local school districts, joint meetings with council members, and really getting the community behind us, behind House Bill 70, establish, I think they even said some kind of a hashtag. We've got to start marketing the fact that House Bill 70 is real and that the state wants to take us over. As we know, we have to make the grade this year. Don't want to put it out there in the air, but we've got to start letting people know that if we don't make the grade, no matter how hard our teachers, our students try, the state is going to take us over. So there will be more to come with that. I am going to reach out to the two members from the two districts that I just mentioned, and my hope is that I can engage the entire board and the entire community in some type of grassroots efforts that might even lead to something like what just happened with the march that they did with the Parkland students, where we actually go to Capitol Hill here in Columbus, and let them know that we disagree. This is not just us. You'll see that there's districts everywhere in the state that are already having these discussions. So that's where we are in a nutshell. House Bill 70 is real, and that's got to be our focus in terms of getting the word out there that we disagree with it.
Thank you, Board Member Gator. Is there any questions about any of those bills that Board Member Gator presented, 512 or 343? Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Next on our board agenda, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Okay, I just want to add on to some things that Ms. Gator discussed, and some things in addition.
Go right ahead.
So, Ms. Gator, Ms. Mitchell, and myself, we attended a meeting in Youngstown.
That's right.
Where I had the opportunity to speak. And so I want to share some things with everyone regarding the Ohio Education Association and the 5-year plan in the event the Distress Commission does take over. I've been hearing, and I don't know if anyone else have, but everybody has their own version of what's going to happen, if it happens, and how it happens, and things of that nature. And not to put it in the air, but if you are going to put it in the air, I want people to be accurate. So I did make copies for anybody that is interested, but I also made copies of, just like Ms. Gator mentioned, how we have to reach out to our legislators and community and so what. So I also made copies that they passed out of the different people that we can contact regarding any of these House bills. And it starts with Governor Kasich's personal number all through the ODE, as well as all through the ODE board members that are elected and appointed. So I'm gonna sit those, so that can be there. But then my other meeting that I attended, my regional meeting, this is for Ms. Gator, and I'll get you one, Ms. Mitchell. But this is, I don't know if you had an opportunity yet about the legislation ensuring equity and excellence. Ms., can you pass that down to Ms. Gator?
Oh, this is the conference you attended?
Yeah,
Thank you.
so that is for that. But you can actually have this one, Ms. Mitchell. Just want to make sure they didn't have my personal stuff that's still in there. I wanted that to be put out there. Oh, my back. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Board Member Elba. Is there any other discussion on policy or?
See? Come on. My stuff is right.
All right, there's no unfinished business for this board tonight. There's no new business. Dr. Rock, do you have any correspondence?
No, sir.
Excuse me, we do have some new business. The, new business, old business. The announcement that I made regarding the middle school. I told you guys on Monday. I actually had a meeting with our regional meeting, and they agreed to allow our middle school to represent this year at Capitol Conference with the orthotics that they did at the STEAM Fair. So I had the opportunity to present that. Pass this down. So they did accept it, and they did allow them to present. One of the things that, Mr. Jolly, if we can possibly see, their presentation, they'd like to do it with metal. And I did find a company that was willing to provide the metal, but it's $75. So I don't know if we have that to provide to the students.
Yeah, we do. Just let us know. We'll make it happen.
Does everybody have one?
Oh, I'm sorry, you already got it? Oh, okay.
Okay, so that's the business. That's it.
Okay, thank you, Board Member Elba.
Mr. Chair.
Go right ahead.
Real quick.
Ms. Gator.
I'd like to ask if maybe for the next meeting, we can have a discussion about your thoughts or even your head of security's thought about resource officers, school resource officers, just because of everything that's going on. Not that I'm
No.
swayed either way,
No, I
but
got
I
you.
think it's important for us to at least have that discussion.
Okay, thank you.
So if we could add that to
Yep.
the next agenda.
Yeah. All right, Dr. Rock, is there any correspondence?
No, sir.
I do have a couple announcements. This board will go into 2 executive sessions tonight, and I don't want to hold anybody, but as of next week, is it next week?
2 weeks.
2 weeks? That's right, April 7th.
6th through the 9th.
Well, it starts April 7th in my books, but yeah, we going early. But the National School Board Association is having their annual conference, and that will be in San Antonio, Texas. I believe all board members are attending that function. So that's just an announcement. Also, as Superintendent Jolly told you, our whole district will be doing state testing April the 9th through the 12th.
All the whole month of April.
Oh, the whole month of April, okay. Our next board meeting actually will be April 16th. And our actual graduation for our 2018 class will be May 21st. We have the date set for the 21st, and the actual facility will be at our stadium. And the last day of school for this year will be May the 24th. That will be the last day for school. Our new school year will start August the 15th. We have it on our calendar, and that will be the first day for the 2018-19 school year. I think that's about it. Did I?
Us doing liaisons for the buildings now, or are we waiting till April for that?
April.
You know,
I think so. I think she wanted to put
Yeah,
everything
yeah.
together.
You want to put it together?
I think so, yeah.
Yes. Okay.
we'll discuss that on the 16th meeting. That's about it. I do need a motion to go into executive session. Can I have a motion to go into executive session?
Mr. Chair, move that this board enter into executive session for the purpose of a conference with an attorney for the board concerning a dispute involving the board that is a subject of pending or imminent court action.
Do I have a second?
A second?
Moved by Vice President Mitchell, second by Board Member Gator. We are in executive session. I want to thank everybody for, I'm sorry.
We're just gonna do it here, right?
If we can, yeah.